Normatec recovery systems give you a high-tech compression massage for warm-up pre-workout and recovery post-workout.
The technology is very safe and is used by a broad range of athletic types and really any fitness enthusiast looking to get the most out of their workout.
The whole idea is that we're using air compression to help increase circulation in the body. We wanted to mimic physiology, the way the body moves fluids. We went ahead and took a lot of those principles and put it into a system that you can use on your different extremities and your hips as well.
Normatec has been an industry leader in pneumatic compression, providing improved mobility and profound healing for thousands of patients. We continually work with researchers to study and develop the effectiveness of our technology.
It's all about creating that community space where people have a conversation around recovery and start really challenging their beliefs in what is possible and what they've known and maybe what could be.
Come on, move. Of course, there aren't any spots. A few minutes won't hurt anybody. Thanks, Grandma.
Paralyzed Veterans of America works tirelessly every day to create a more accessible America. Let's leave the accessible spaces to the people who actually need them. Whatever the reason, excuses don't excuse. Join PVA and be part of the solution. Honor the spot.
Well, here we are, it's Echelon time. Fantastic. It's great to be back, and Happy New Year to everybody involved with Echelon races, the community races here today. A TT, so this is the first in this series, and it's a bit of a hilly one, and it's there and back, so you've got to do the same climb twice, and this is going to be interesting. Riders leaving at 15-second intervals, men's A, men's B, and then at 5 o'clock we've got women's race, hand cycling and paracycling. So a packed programme for you today here at Echelon Racing Promotions, brought to you by ZMS, Next Level Streams, and I'm your commentator for the day, Dave Morrison. Now, the time trial we're doing today is the Tour of the Gila time trial, and it is 26.12 kilometres long. Not quite sure what that is in miles. We're having a look at it. Now look, you can see it goes up this valley, and you can see in the top left-hand corner of your screen that the climb up there is reasonably gentle as we go down and then through Oak Grove at the bottom. But the turn as you can see, the thing mirrors itself. It has that steep climb just there that we've just been over on the way back. So just when you're beginning to tire, I guess, on the way back to Tyrone, is where you get the steep bit on the way back. So that's what it looks like, over that ridge of mountains there. So up the valley, then over the col, and you can see that about halfway there, halfway in on course, down the deep descent, and then turn at Oak Grove, back up the steep descent over the col, and then back down the valley. So once you've done that col, I suspect it's going to be quite exciting and fast down there. We're expecting times something like 45 minutes to 50 minutes, which may sound quite long for a 26-kilometre race or time trial, but bear in mind the climbing to be done here is going to be the factor. I mean, we've got to go over that ridge twice, and I think that really I think sums up why the speeds will be of that nature. So we're I think if anybody can do 30k PH as an average, they'd be doing well on this. So let's have a look at the Echelon Community Series. And bear in mind that this goes on alternate weekends as a rule of thumb to the pro race. And so here we have the Tour of Gila. If you look at the lineup on the right-hand side of your screen, Tour of Gila is 2nd of January. I'm pronouncing it Gila. I hope that I've got that right, because it could be Gila or Gila, but I'm going to go for Gila just because it has that sort of kind of French, Italian sounding sort of name. I guess it was probably Spanish once, because we're in New Mexico for this race. So maybe it's got Spanish pronunciation. Here's the other ones, the pro races, and you can see there Tulsa Tough, which we've got coming up next in the community races, will be the 22nd of January for the pros. It was a week before on the 15th of January. Don't miss that. We'll be brought to you by ZMS, as all these races are. Don't miss out. And well, this is going to be quite interesting, isn't it? As I say, we, as ever, we can guess some of the riders that are going to be here today, but we never know, because unlike a pro race, it's not something where you can sort of sit there a week before and research all the riders. So we'll wait and see who's turned up for this one. Certainly, I think it's a brave man and a brave woman who is going to do this one, bearing in mind the climbing. But of course, these races are here to test it. So the Tour of Gila, as we say, or if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Gila, is actually a pro race in the United States. It started back in about 1997, I think. These days sponsored by SRAM. And here we go. We're at the start. Nice little applaud from the lovely looking avatars on the left hand side of the course. The first rider is about to go in 3 minutes. So 3 minutes to see who we've got in the race. I'm trying to read on the left, and it's I see Mike Lister's in there. Mike Swart as well, I recognise. That's in the men's A on the right. We've got the first rider is gone, and you can see it looks reasonably flat here, although in fact it's minus 0.2, as you can see from the top right hand corner of your screen. So and the B rider, Kay Tyler is the rider in the men's B race. So we're going to have these two simultaneously on your screens. And as you can see, the gradient's still stuck at that minus 0.2 just at the beginning. And if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see where the gradients are tough. And so basically, the darker blue it is, the better the descent. Green is fairly benign, stroke flat, and orange to red denotes ascent. Good turnout on the line there, as other riders getting underway now. And you can also see on the bottom of your screen, so here we are in the men's B. This is James Strandberg, pushing out 36 kph. I don't think the average is going to be that, because I think Strandberg is clearly on the shall we say the lower bits. He's still on the green section. If you look at the little white blobs on the bottom left hand corner of your screen, the big blob is the rider we're focused on. Little blobs are other riders. Now RGT is, no, we're in the men's A here. This is the Blodgett, who was the first rider off today, pushing out 32 kph, and the gradient's gone up to 2.4. So immediately we get off that green bit. As you can see, the big white blob in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen is getting a bit more orangey than green, and the speed goes down. 31.9, I think that's probably... I mean, we should have to see what the average comes out. David Blodgett there, 350 watts, and that's going to be a lot to maintain over the course, but who knows? All these riders have different abilities. Cadence of 83, he's going uphill, of course, so that sounds a bit reasonable. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it says time trial starting in 27 seconds. I guess that's the next rider, and I assume it will go up to the gap. I was under the impression that it was 15-second start gaps, but I might be wrong. So, in the main air, men's A, Kate Bouchard, third rider off. We missed out the Canadian Konings, who's the second rider off, 138 metres behind the next rider. Remember, of course, this is a time trial though, so you can see in the bottom right hand corner, somebody else has just started, and you get that little message, start pedalling. That's probably one of the cameras, I suspect. That's probably why that came up on your screen, so it's probably, don't worry too much about that. It's probably one of the bot bikes that are put in for the camera angles. So Mike Swart here from the USA, an RGT man to his core, is pedaling away at 30.5, slightly slower than we saw before with Blodgett, who was doing 32 on this 2.4% gradient. It will be interesting to see whether riders catch each other. Remember, of course, though, that RGT does allow you to switch off the draft effect. So you know, there is the opportunity to. I mean, you can catch somebody, but you can't sit on their wheel. If you do sit on the wheel, which is kind of how I got muddled up with my sentences, if you get the opportunity to sit on somebody's wheel, you can do it, but you shouldn't get any effect. These are all built on magic roads, which is why RGT is able to replicate this particular climb on the Tour of Gila, and it's as I say, you can build your own roads. The scenery will be stock scenery as we're seeing here. As you can see there, A. Billing is now getting overtaken by Boguslawski, and he's absolutely flying, isn't he, Boguslawski? He's tearing up the road. What are we looking at? So Boguslawski, he's doing 32. Just before the screen flicked over, we were looking at Billing doing 25. That is some speed difference. And you notice if it happens to you. Billing about to be caught, I would guess, at 25.6 kph by the rider behind, who's Aponte. All US riders in that section, one Canadian up ahead. Of course, position on the road is not the judge, it is the actual time when you cross the line. As you can see, Dutch rider here, Broku, sorry, is now about to catch Aponte as well. So there will be differences. I mean, these interestingly, I suspect the start times these are fairly random. When I've run time trials for my own events, the Wednesday, alternate Wednesdays, I should say, West London cycling races, I've run time trials, and they are I think fairly random. When you, well, they're not random, it's when you turn up on the line, so therefore there's no preset. It is really, if you want to be one of the first riders, you get out first. Now here we have the Zoom room. So who have we got in the Zoom room today? No names underneath, so I can't tell, but they're all looking fairly focused, aren't they? Except somebody in the bottom right who seems to be a bit motionless. I assume it's still on the start line waiting for their start. They are, of course, checking their social media messages, as you see. So Alves from Portugal is the rider we're focused on at the moment, and we haven't got a real feel for where he's at, but he's on a 3.1% gradient, speed dropped down to 26 kph. And we're looking at, yes, he's just about to be caught by, it's Daniel Margulies from Brazilian flag. He's a Brazilian but lives in Portugal. and he's just overtaking Alves, fellow. In fact, they both probably live in Portugal, based on that, because Alves is Portuguese. And Alves is about to be caught by Mike Lister, who definitely doesn't come from Portugal. He comes from the southwest of Britain. He's pushing out 350 watts, which is pretty decent. 29 kph on a 3.1% gradient, or grade if you prefer. It's pretty decent stuff from Mike. He's going to catch Alves. I think he's going to catch Daniel as well. And that is probably going to be quite an impressive time from Mike. As I say, I think for his speed, looking at the others on that ascent, see, it's gone up to 5.6. Now, this is the way up, and this is the gentler climb. And if we look at Daniel's Daniel Margolis, he puts his name the other way around, so it says M. Daniel on there, but his name's actually Daniel Margolis. And but you can see from the white blob to the bottom of your screen that he was just on one of those orange sections, and we saw gradients going up to 5%. Now, 3 riders together over here on the right hand side of the men's B. This is quite interesting. Metz and Berigny and Ange, the Frenchman, just leading the 2 Americans who are riding almost side by side. Berigny's just pulling up alongside Ange, and he's sitting on his wheel, but like I said, I don't think you're going to I don't assume there's any draft effect. In fact, those 2 pulling away, so that was probably an overtaking move. Metz just behind, and Metz 17 kph, yes, clearly been overtaken at 3.1%. So Marion Hambrecht is flying away as usual in that flamboyant jersey, which I rather like and always comment on. 25 kph on 3.1, probably not going to win given the speed we saw Mike Lister at, but I think a pretty impressive speed nonetheless. And as I say, I don't know if he's quite past the 5 point whatever it was percent bit, but he looks quite steady, maintaining a steady speed, and his cadence looks steady enough to suggest that this is going to be a decent ride. Now you can see, if you look in the bottom left, he's on the first long orangey section. There's a little bit of green, then a little bit of orange, and it sort of flitters between the green and the orange. It's almost like an autumn scene, perhaps not from New Mexico. I have to say that the stock scenery here doesn't look much like I anticipated. I see the 6th rider in Zoom Room is now riding, social media put to one side, and all focused and getting sweaty. It's getting sweaty, I'd say. As I was saying, scenery, you get a choice of scenery on RGT. You don't have to have the scenery we've got here. This scenery is called European Spring, hence the white and grey clouds. I suppose it does, for those of us who live in Northern Europe, look like Northern Europe. I'm not sure it looks like New Mexico. I could say that with more authority if I'd actually been to New Mexico. I've been to Texas and it didn't look like this, and so I'm assuming New Mexico doesn't either. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong. So, what have we got on the men's B race? Danae Le Francais is powering away at 23 on the 5.6. I'm not 23 kph does look a little bit slow, but that was on the 5.6, and he takes over Gary Metz. So therefore, it's probably, and it's, look, the gradient drops straight up to 29 kph. You can see he's just left the orange section and gone into the green section, and Metz is on 26. It's quite interesting watching this now here. So Honcho is pulling away from Silva, the Portuguese there, and you can look at the distances between the riders, as we see Volokov overtaking another Portuguese. So we've got a decent, we've got 2 Portuguese and a Brazilian who lives in Portugal, and I'm guessing this is the Russian flag of Polikhov, and he's powering away. Screen, and what we've got on the men's A there. So this is Jaeger, who's just overtaken the Canadian Smith and is now demolishing Nima. Jaeger, 450 watts, 2.7 gradient, is powering 33. That's the best we've seen yet, I believe. Even with my short-term memory issues at times, I'm pretty sure we haven't seen 33 on the 2.7 gradient yet. Mike Lister was fast, but I don't think he was that fast. So Jaeger is looking a good bet for the overall. As we go back to the double screen, and who have we got on the B section? It's Wood, and he's just ahead of Borders. I should make a joke there, shouldn't I? Something like he's just over the Borders. Yeah, these what we I don't know if he's universally known as dad jokes, but everybody groans at your jokes and says yes, that was a dad joke. So with the Austrian flag, it's Thiessen, who has got his website address, Malika Apartment. So if you want, I have been to Mallorca, but I haven't actually ridden a bike over there. But it is the place to go. Now he's catching 33 on a 3.1 section. All right, it's dropped to 29, but this looks like another good one, doesn't it? This is Bayern now. He's 26 on 3.1. UK OTR, James Ogilvy's OTR racing team. Hackleton from the USA, 27 kph on 3.1. It's very easy as the commentator to sit here and say, well, that's a bit slow compared to. And the problem is when you're not a professional sports person and you have to comment on them, of course you make judgments comparing professional sports persons, not that these are professional of course, with other professional sports persons. So saying that a player in your team isn't very good is probably a misjudged statement from an outsider, because they're obviously a lot better than so these guys are probably a lot better than I am, is what I'm trying to say, but of course I'm judging them against each other. El Park, just hit 5%. I mean, it's all a bit unfortunate, isn't it? You come on, he's only doing 22. He was on the 5% bet and he's straight up to 30, to 33, and going and off the cobbles when he hits the flat. Here we have Rogers as we look at head down, top centre there with the cap on. I don't know if that soaks up the sweat or makes you hotter, but not one for me. Look at the concentration, just top right, just look at the gritted teeth. I can relate to that, that's me. That's what I look, well, that's what I assume I look like. I don't have a mirror to prove it. So well done guys. And is that, I'm not sure if that's Marion Hambrick in the bottom right, because the jersey's not too dissimilar to the ones he wears in the races. A nice little wave from Rob Miller. He always does that. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Can we see his stats? I want to see how he's getting on. He's a character. We like him. Yeah, so Rob Miller there, he's pushing out 326, 30 on a 2.4. Yeah, I think that's pretty decent. Rob, you're doing okay, mate. Give us a wave. Yes, superb. 99 cadence, I like that. I mean, it's interesting how people ride hills. We went out on a hilly ride. Now, I'm broadcasting from London in the UK, so if you're in a different time zone, this is going to sound a bit odd. But I'm sitting here in the late afternoon in London, and earlier today I went out for a ride with my club mates, and we were doing the hills, and it's quite interesting that everybody has a different style. I mean, I can't go into the lowest gear and spin. I'm not very good at it, so I use a higher gear, and people look at me and wonder why I do a higher gear. So I think cadence of 99 on a 4% gradient suggests a lower gear here. 333 watts of output is probably slightly less, so I guess the gear ratio is such that he's spinning there. So Livians from Belgium, and I'm guessing that name is Northern Belgium. pushing away 25 on the 4.0%. It gets a round of applause from the fan club on the left there. And of course, you know, the weather above does look like Belgium. The road surfaces are better than Belgium, I would guess. I'm not sure if this was modelled on Belgium, but it sort of kind of reminds me of when you ride things as some of the real roads on RGT, like the Paterberg, are set in Belgium, which I have to say is my favourite cycling country. I love Belgium, bit of a fan. So I think that is Marion Hambrick. I'm going to assume that's Marion Hambrick in the bottom. Yeah, it is. The names have come up now, haven't they? So I'm looking at the pictures. Igor Kops on top right, Mike Saranecki in the middle, the higher centre. Jamie Fuhrman is the one at the bottom. Doug Hackleton and Kerry Tyler up the top there. Kerry Tyler, just looking, I'm not sure if he's on a road bike or he's not actually, because it's quite upright, but I might be, the picture might be quite deceiving, because that might be a shelf that he's leaning against rather than handlebars. So let's go over to the men's A race and see where we're at. Now we're 6 kilometres in out of 26.12 kilometres. We see here Revel 24 kph, but you know, on the steep section, and Jacqueline FCC. I'm not sure what FCC is, but CC will certainly stand for Cycling Club, and I have to find out where his cycling club is. There's lots of places that begin with F, and it could be any of them. And bear in mind too, I'm sure this is fairly universal, that a lot of cycling clubs have very local names. I mean, if you're not doing anything on Fridays, for example, Southborough District Wheelers run an excellent race called Friday Frenzy here on RGT, about 6 o'clock UK time in the evening. Now, it's not everybody knows where Southborough is, but you look on the map and it's a part of a town called Tunbridge Wells, which a lot of British people will have heard of, and it of course, you know, it's just a local district within a larger town. So cycling clubs generally quite often have names that don't tell you where they well, they do tell you where they're from, but you might not instantly recognise it. Steve Bellio, another OTR rider, not wearing an OTR kit. Oh dear. So he's so I don't know if there's team orders or that's a special anniversary badge of some sort. He's behind Ericsson, flying the Canadian flag just ahead, and that gap is 47 metres. It's just gone out to 50, which suggests that Ericsson's pulling away, and I'm not sure what they're we don't have data on each one's individual times, I guess, because we don't know what time they start. I suppose we do actually, because if you look at the top right hand corner, I'm guessing that these are the stats for Spelio. So with the 14 minutes over 6.25 kilometres, oh, he's catching up with Ericsson now. That's dropped right down. Actually, for a moment, Ericsson was pulling away, but now it's like Steve Bellio's going to catch him. So good riding, OTR. Pulling up. The distance 12 metres back now, and it's down to 7, and Steve Bellio is going to go by. We can assume, as he comes by, not wearing OTR kit, but clearly an OTR rider at the end of his name. OTRE, I'm sure the E is for e-racing. Oh, I don't know, it's not making up those last 12 metres, and it's out to oh, it's holding. Oh no, he's just reeling it in a little bit. We're on a 3.9% gradient, so I wouldn't expect him to go sailing past, but he was pulling up quite quickly. And you can see by the white blob at the bottom of your screen that they're about halfway through this big segment. Once we get over the top, you can see that very dark blue section. Steve goes by. Mr. Ericsson, I'm sure they have a couple of words of encouragement to each other. Chapeaus there. Once over that brown section at the bottom, we hit a green section, then we get over the top of the climb, and it's the descent down to the turn, and then the steeper return leg, which looks quite. I mean, given that if we look at the men's B race over here, 6% gradient there. for the current rider, and that's going to be worse coming back up. So Bottigliero is on the descent now. You can see in the top right hand corner, minus 2%, slightly less now. So he's actually, I'll say he's on the descent. We flicked to the front of the pack, haven't we? And he's way up the road on a green section, and about to hit another red one as we go through one of the banners. 12.83. So it's not. It's 12.86. Oh, 6.5%. It just eats in that little lump. That doesn't even really show up as that hard. So that is roughly the halfway section. It's 12.94 kilometers showing is on the way out and 13 back, which is not a lot of difference. So now we see here Echelon is the second rider on the road behind Blodgett, and same thing. So look at that, men's B, minus 7% there just before they go into that little dip. That's really deceptive. You can't really tell that from the profile at the bottom. And then suddenly this 6.9% grind up to the halfway stage. As you can see, Bottigliero just coming through in that rather fetching green, black, red, yellow jersey. Gives us a wave as he goes through the halfway stage. Well done. 6.5%. Just got to go over this little ridge. It doesn't really show up too heavily on the screen. And there's another blue section after that, so chance to get some speed up. So we're looking at Echelon now in the men's A, in a rather stylish quadrant. I'll say quadranted. I'm sure quadranted means 4, doesn't it? So it's 8 octanted jersey, I should say. Konings from Canada, current rider on your screen is 12.7 all the way through. So at the halfway stage, we're looking at 23-24 minutes. And look at that, look at the way the speed just drops out of the saddle up that 6.5% gradient as we go through the what is the halfway banner. So 23.41 for Konings at the halfway stage. Men's A, we've got May here now coming in much better time. The Austrian just behind at 21.17. 2 minute difference there. Mike Schwartz coming in 23. In line with Konings, Johan Jaeger 21.22, so just outside that one. So I didn't catch Mike Lister's one. Maybe the screen flicked. Keith Atchison, who is, of course, I believe, a Yorkshireman living in Spain. So again, looking at halfway stage in the men's B here, we're coming along with. This is going to be sort of 23, so this is the men's B time, so not hugely different. Keith Aitchison on the left on the A race side is going to be beyond 23 minutes. I think here's Keith now. Yeah, we're going to hit 23 minutes. You can see, look, it just dives down. Get minus 7.5. You need to get your momentum up to hit this 6.4, but you just see the speed tumble as everybody hits that ramp. My person is 20. It dropped from about sort of 33 kph to 26 kph, just like that. So Keith Aitchison through on 23.23. So that's slower than some of the others we've seen. We haven't been clocking every single one, of course. So Smith is. Can I actually see that gradient hit 8.1 momentarily? That is quite grueling, especially if you're focused on something that seems to get ever more distant. So Igor Kotz just overtaking Smith there. Igor Kotz probably a contender. My old friend Daniel Margulis from. I think he's from Porto in Portugal, actually. He's going to be at Court, I think, by Lynn. So as we look at men's A race here, Sonic, is the rider we're looking at there, 12.41. Still some way to go to the halfway stage, 22.5 minutes since starting, so probably going to be outside the 23 benchmark. Men's B below, we're seeing the rider there, which is Strek from Poland, coming in 24. Remember, this is the B race though, so we can't judge that against all the 23s and below that we've seen in the A race. So 24.21, probably not going to win the B race and given some of the other times, but respectable all the same. Men's B, you see the next rider coming up already outside 25 versus the men's A. We're looking at the rider on your left hand side coming up, so 23 versus the B rider here, 25, and if you rounded it up it'd be 26. That'd be a bit unfair, 25.5. So you know, a couple of minutes difference between the men's A and men's B. Now this is over 26 kilometers, so you know, in real life, real terms, it's not very far. In cycling terms, of course 2 minutes can be huge over this distance, but anyway, Alves just getting passed there by a Belgian, Enco, and sorry, it's not the right pronunciation, isn't it? On men's B, next rider up, again this one's going to be outside 26, so you sort of get a feel for the differences. Although I say that, I think some of the riders might be, even in the men's A race, I mean some people are probably going to struggle on this course. Any cyclist will tell you some of us are better at hills than others, and of course what this means is that you can be overall a great rider but not necessarily the best up a hill, and you know, this might just suit the climbers this particular race, and then next week we get different parkour and it suits different riders. We see men's A there, Revel was way outside the sorry, it wasn't Revel, it was somebody else, but Revel getting in at 22 at the halfway stage. You know, somebody just before was on, I think, about 26, which is probably more in line with the B race, as we see Marion Hambrick come through at 24.5 roughly, which is probably going to be competitive, probably not going to win though. Again, similar sort of time here for this rider as well, so it's as I say, it's difficult to tell until everybody finishes. The Russian rider on the right, and just coming through again. Now this is a good time in the B race. That was 23 for that rider versus 25 we're looking at for the rider coming through now. Again, if you look at the B race, just coming through this halfway marker, 24, which is probably decent but not going to win it, is. But who knows? I mean, you have to remember that the whole thing about this race is it's a there and back over the same col, and the col is steeper on the way back than it is on the way out, and we could see times collapse and fade on the way back. And we look at, I've got Cops with gritted teeth. Marion Hambrick looks focused. His mouth probably gives away the poker face is lost with the mouth there. He's probably in a sort of gasping position, but nevertheless he's very focused and there's not too much around his body there as he rides away. Kerry Tyler in the top left is pumping away. As I say, I think it looks like he's got flat handlebars, but I might be wrong because they do get cut off on the picture there. Doug Hackleton below, pumping away at what looks like a very high cadence. Mike Saralecki looks like he might be out of the saddle because his body's moving around a bit, whereas Jamie Fuhrman, German at the bottom, is in a very, very steady position on the bike there, alongside the washing machine, it looks like there. You do realise you can make bikes out of washing machines. There's a film about it. So what have we got? Another rider coming up. This is going to be outside 26 in the men's B here. It must be painful having to stare at that halfway mark while you're going up to 6.9%. You might say that 6.9% is not particularly steep, but of course you're in a time trial here. You're pushing everything as the OTR rider in the B race there, absolutely out of the saddle and pushing it. Now you can see in the men's A race, the leading riders are on that dark red bit, which is the climb back, which is the really steep bit. So it would be very interesting to have a look at the guys at the head of the pack in the A race, because they are tackling, and wow, what's happened here? Oh, Thiessen, the Austrian, in OTR colours, the one with the Mallorca Apartments advert or website page after his name. If you can do that, you probably need a shortened website name. So here we are, front of the men's A race, budget 6.5. That was the darkest red section, and it was quite long, so I'm not sure how long it lasts at 6.5, but I'm intrigued to know if there's any tougher gradients on the way up here. Another rider coming through on the B race here. It does hit 8.1 just momentarily percentage, and that probably takes the wind out of a lot of riders' sails. So even when they get back onto the 6.9 bit, you know, you've already slowed down, lost momentum. As Rogers comes through in the B race, and 24, which is pretty decent B race time. We're looking on the A race at Kelson, who's on 6.4% gradient, about halfway up. Be interested to see if that gradient is the same all the way up by looking at some of the other riders out the front. But Kelson and we saw Blodgett were both on 6.4%. We've got Johan Jaeger, he's the next one back, and who have we got after that? May, Mike List, Kaniga and Mike Swart making up the top 7, or the first 7 on the road, shall I say. Johan Jaeger coming past Kelson, which suggests that he is doing a very good time. So Johan Jaeger has battled his way up to be second on the road. Not the second on the road is any indication of where you're going to finish. He is the best part of a kilometre behind Blodgett, but I don't know what the gap was when they started. Blodgett was the first person off though. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Johan Jaeger was a lot further back, so it may well be that Johan Jaeger is the man to watch here. Now the gap was 900, it was just under a kilometre, it's just over a kilometre now. Of course it does rather depend. I mean, I say that the gap went up, but if you look on the bottom of your screen, you'll see that actually Johan Jaeger is at the top of a descent that Blodgett has just done, in which case we might expect that gap to come down a little bit. I mean, it's holding steady at 1.9 kilometres right now this moment. Now, just because the gradient shows green at the bottom, that doesn't mean that Blodgett is on flat ground. It just means that it's very, very shallow. So basically, the interesting thing now, we see whether Jaeger catches Blodgett on this descent. If not, then bear in mind that we're over the worst of the course. You would expect that gap to hold. Do remember though, this is a time trial, it's your overall time, not where you are, but I think it's always an indication of how fast a rider is going when you see them closing gaps to the next rider up. So I think it's not a tussle between the two of them, but yeah, now it's back down to 970. The gap is only 970 now. Blodgett, as you can see, there's a big white blob on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. He's still comfortably ahead, but it's just coming down. I don't think Jaeger's going to catch Blodgett. As I say, you don't gain more places for passing the rider, you gain more places by going faster. which may coincidentally amount to the same outcome, but that's not the point. So looking over to the men's B, our first Italian that gets a mention, D'Agostino, is pumping out 37.4 kph, -1. It's not bad. I mean, it's I've seen faster on RGT descent, but then again, you do have to keep pedaling when you're doing these sorts of things on RGT in a way that you might sort of freewheel a little bit. Fuhrman, who's one of our Zoom members, there on 6-something percent, just in 14 kph, 3% climb here for Stevens. Again, it's his speeds. You've got to remember this is attrition. So Agostino in the men's B race here, just coming up to the halfway stage, 28. So that's a long way off the leaders in the B race, which probably sort of did it around 22, 23. And just look at that effort to get up that 6% gradient. Now this is hard. That would be me. I can assure you. There's no judgmental points here. We're only comparing riders in the same race. Now the categorization here is largely that if you are in a race, you need to be an elite rider, category 1, 2, 3, and the B race is basically aimed at category 4, 5 and 6. So there's quite a spread within the race. So you know, if a category 3 racer is a few minutes behind a category 1 racer, that's to be expected, but they are put in the same lump, and consequently, you know, this is it's almost I say that if winning is what you really want to do, you're almost better to be category 4 and at the top of that section than bottom of the category 1 to 3 thing. If you want a Zwift comparison, that's, you know, A and B is in the first race and C and D in the second race. But I don't, I mean, personally, I don't think winning is what it's all about. The men's B now, rider coming in, just crossing the line, 35 minutes now, grueling as they cross that line, going up that gradient. So, as I say, this is not an easy course. I mean, this is basically going over a mountain twice. Everybody, depending on where they live, will have their own view of what a difficult mountain stage looks like, right? So actually, just looking up there at Blodgett, he's only got 1.8 kilometers to go. He's on 38 minutes, and I should, of course, some of these riders are coming back through the halfway stage rather than going through it for the first time, so be careful we don't get the muddle up. Blodgett, 1.6 kilometers to go. Heading for a time of, I would guess, about 43 at the worst. I'm guessing that would be less than that, wouldn't it? I'm going to go for 41.5. I think it will take him 2 minutes. The gap now, Jaeger has got that gap down. The gap is not important, but it's an indication that Jaeger is going faster than Blodgett. Down under 800 meters in gap there. 2 kilometers to go. 35, so Blodgett's on 39 and Jaeger's on 35. 4 minute gap there. Jaeger's going to be comfortably faster than Blodgett on the basis that they will take a minute or two. What did I say? 41.5 for Blodgett, and he's on 40 with 800 meters to go. It's not going to take him 1.5 minutes to do 800 meters, is it? I don't think. So I'm going to be way off that. I think it'd be under 41. So I was about a minute off. So if we sort of do the same calculation on Jaeger, what was he on? I think he was about 4 minutes difference or something like that, wasn't it? So we shall see in a moment. Let's see. So we're over 40. We're going to get 40.5. Might be closer to 41 than I thought a moment ago for Blodgett. He's 43, which is pretty decent speed. All right, and that is, he's doing 42 on a +2 gradient, so it's not a steep climb or anything. It's almost flat, but he's still doing 40 on something that is an upward trajectory, and consequently My prediction of 41.5 is not going to be as bad as it might have looked. So I was only probably only about 25 seconds out. The Blodger is the first one home, and you see the wonderful crowds out to see him come home. And so on the A, we're still on the A race. Johan Jaeger is the next one, 100 meters. Now somebody is coming home on the B race too, and it is Bottigliero, the American. I assume it's an Italian name. We'll do 41 minutes. Okay, so it's probably not going to be the winner because everybody didn't start at the same time. But Johan Jaeger is going to cross the line at probably 37, 38. Yeah, it's going to be about 38 for Johan Jaeger. So 30, if we say 38. Okay, so it's 4 seconds shy of 38 for Johan Jaeger. So if we look at 38 as the time to beat somebody in the hot seat in the A race, we've got a measure of how everybody's doing. So we can see Kellison here in the A's race at 40, crossing the line third, or the third person to cross the line, is at 40, which is nearly 41. So 38 is the thing to beat in the A race. We reckon. Bottigliero giving us all a nice wave. He comes in good natured, and thank you for doing the second wave and animating our afternoon for us. So 400 meters to go for May, the Austrian, on the A race on your left hand side. And what do we got? 40 again. So this is the 38 is 2 minutes faster than that. We've seen a few coming in at 40. This is probably going to be a bit more, so it's going to be closer to 41 by the time May crosses the line. Compare this over on the B race where the rider we're watching has got 1.6 to go and is already at 41. So I would suggest that maybe a 4-minute difference on average between the two races is probably going to be the order of the day, as May comes up to the line and crosses at 40.46. Next one up in the A race, Mike Lister. Very good race, but 41 has been beaten by a few riders already. So 41.15 for Mike. He's probably not going to be on the podium with that, because I think at least 3 riders, one with 38 and one. In fact, if you look at the bottom of the screen, we're starting to see the results, or the hot seats come up. So say Mike Lister's going to be 5th out of those behind David Blodgett as the next rider comes home. That was a fast time. That looked like a 38. Remember, Johan Jaeger was under 38 by a smidgen, 3.2 seconds. So anything like that is going to be. So the times on the right hand side, Phil Bottigliero is on 42. Now, of course, this will unfold. This is the leaderboard. This will unfold as the race goes on. So whether or not Phil's time is great, fantastic, or awful will be judged at the end and not now. But certainly, like anything else you've ever seen, where they have hot seat, and if you watch mountain biking downhill or pro racing, then it's or pro racing time trials, you will notice that the person with the fastest time sits in the hot seat. If you get a fast time early, you can be there for hours, and then of course, in one of these stage races where the best riders go last, you could be sitting in the hot seat for about 2 hours waiting. Well, maybe not 2 hours depending on the time of the time trial, but you can be sitting in the hot seat for quite a long time, and then at the end of the day get nowhere because the 3 best riders all take your time at the end. So we've got another one coming in at 42. Igor Kops was the 38 that we just mentioned, and is in second place behind Johan Jaeger. Daniel May on 40, just a smidgen ahead of Brian Kellison, as we see that rider coming in on 42. So looking at the B race for a moment, Bogoslavsky has got a 43, just under a minute behind Phil Bottigliero, and we've got coming up next, we've got Shrek, who's on your screen. 1.5k to go at 43. Is not going to bother Phil or Joshua in the B race there. Back over to the A race. Jaeger's still in the hot seat. The latest rider we've got coming up is on 43, and he's not going to interfere with that leaderboard. As we see Jaylin, coming over the line in the A race. Next up, we're back in the A race, and this is Rob Miller at 180 odd meters to go, at 42.25. He's not going to hit the leaderboard at the bottom there, but well raced all the same. Great race, Mr. Miller. Fantastic stuff, coming in at 42.37. I'd be very proud of that. 700, going over to the B race now, 700 metres to go for Streck, who's the third on the field, at 44.48. Will momentarily go on the leaderboard. Whether or not that will stick, I'm not sure. The latest rider on the A race, 43.2, is again not going to. 50 metres to go for my friend Daniel Margulis, who's probably not going to feature in the winners today, but well done, Daniel. Hope he's got a bike rental business out in Portugal. Charlie Revel, I think it's Charlie anyway, 41.47. That's not bad, but he's not going to get onto the top 5 leaderboard. Of course, the nice thing is if you ride early and you get on the leaderboard, you do get your 5 minutes of fame, don't you? Whereas if you ride late, you can finish 4th, or maybe not 4th. Say you were 6th and you're finishing late, you'd never get on it. We are, of course, on a time trial in New Mexico. This has been a there and back over a mountain pass, there and back. Gradients hitting 8%, and therefore not an easy ride because you had to go over the col twice. I think this is very, very impressive. We're coming up to 5 o'clock, and remember, there's plenty more action on ZMS to come. We have the women's race, the hand cycling race, and the para race all at 5 o'clock, and you can see the lineups are already on the line there. So what we need to do is try and cover everything all at once, and this is called multitasking, my wife tells me, and we can't actually be focused solely on every rider all the time, but we have 5 screens courtesy of ZMS promoting the Echelon Racing community series, and fantastic series it is too. So just looking at the leaderboards, we can see that Jaden Jaeger, Argo Cops, Daniel May, Brian Kellison and David Blodgett are the current incumbents of the hot seat on the A race. The B race is just about to have another finisher in the shape of David Broku from the Netherlands, Russia, I beg your pardon, and I'm not quite sure what his time's going to look like. 43.3 at the moment. 30 meters to go, probably going to be about 44ish, is it? No, better than that, 43.55. So Marek Streck is on the leaderboard at 45. I've got a feeling that might be beaten, although we see Marion Hambrick coming in here, he's one of my favourite riders because I like his jersey. It's as simple and childish as that at times, remember. There's no logical seriousness. Marion's going to get 46, which is probably not going to win, but he's going to have his 5 seconds of fame on the leaderboard, I suspect. There we are. A nice little wave from Marion. I think he waved anyway, or maybe that's just the light in my eyes. Of course, we're watching smaller screens, aren't we? Who have we got? So we've got 170 metres for the A rider on the left at 46, who's not going to trouble the A leaders board. It's Warren, and for the United States, it's coming in at about 46. We move back to Hannay, and Hannay is on 45 on the A race. Another finisher in the B race, and this is Rune, finishing at 46, which is probably just going to get him ahead of David Broku on the leaderboard for the moment, but probably not going to stay there, would be my guess. The latest finisher in the B race now, 49.36, is not going to, and we've got Eddie Billing coming in at 49.45 with 100 metres to go. It's probably going to be over 50 now, and again not going to get on the leaderboard. Hannah in the A race at 45.55, that's going to be over 46 with a kilometre to go as well, so that's going to be well outside leaderboard times, which are 41 is the 5th place on there. Now look at this. This is fantastic, isn't it? Bottom left hand corner, hand cycling avatars. Now where do you see that? I'll tell you where. You see it on RGT, and you also see it on Echelon Racing via ZMS, because assuming you haven't set up your components at home to say that you're hand racing cyclist, which would be a little bit out of order if you weren't. Other than that, where would you see them? Well, watching streams like this, of course. Don't they look fantastic? Isn't that fantastic? I mean, that's absolutely brilliant, and rewarded with a nice little lineup of riders in the hand cycling. We've got 6 riders in that, so it's pretty decent turnout. I mean, it's a time to look. Somebody's going to bet a whiz by somebody in the in the handset and the hand cycling. Yeah, look at that. That's yes. So it's Post, and I can't read the name of the rider behind. Paracycling in the bottom left hand corner. I mean, you've seen from the adverts before this that some of the armed forces in the United States, some of their charities support this event with some advertising at the beginning, and I think I do rather admire the advert at the beginning. I think, is it Paralysed Veterans of America? I might have quoted that wrong. As we see Jones flying past Post. I bet he wishes he was flying past the Post right now, as he sort of, because they're all about to go up some nasty hills, isn't they? Parker is the next one. So as I say, I think Paralysed Victims of America, I think the advert for the lady stealing the parking place is absolutely superb, isn't it? Pomeroy goes flying by. Of course, we have less riders than in the men's A's and MBs, but it doesn't make it any less exciting, particularly in the time trial when they wouldn't all be together anyway. Now, paracycling guys, as I say, these are guys who, for one reason or another, have something that affects. I must admit, as try as I have over the years, I never retain quite how they categorise all the paracycling things, but nevertheless, I think if you can pedal on a stationary bike, this is fantastic, isn't it? Because I mean, whatever, I don't know, if your arm was missing, you've got less balance or something. Not that I know anything about the medical conditions here. You know, sitting on a static bike must be a fantastic way of being able to race without having to go on the road and tackle all the sort of nasty potholes, corners, and you know, junctions and things like that. So this is an absolute boon for this sort of thing, and we'd love to see the paracycling grow. We've got 6 riders in it today, which I think is decent. I mean, I've always said about paracycling, the community needs to go around and tell each other about it. Having a look at the men's A leaderboard at the moment, Yaden Yeager and Igor Kops are the standout riders in that and have been for some time. Daniel May coming in at 40, just behind, but only just pipping Brian Kellison. David Blodgett holding on to that for 5th place. Mike Lister from down there in Devon in the UK, 41, great ride Mike. Charlie Revel 41.48, 30 seconds also behind Mike, and not far ahead of Jason Smith. So you're getting a clutch of times around this 40 to 43, which is indicative of, I think, what good riders should be doing. So I think if you look at Keith Aitchison in 14th place, then you get a big gap back to Zachary Cunnings and Daniel Magalhaes, Randy Warren and William Hannay, Mel Jacklin and Steve Bellio the time. But look, these are all these are all great riders, and this was a tough course over there and back, over a cold twice. So anybody who's in the top 20 of that lot is an excellent rider. Make no mistake whatsoever. But I think that 42 to 43 is where the kind of the clutch of good riders are getting 42 to 43, I think, and the outstanding riders under 42, and there's just two of them at the beginning. So this is Strandberg, and this is he's just got 600 meters to go. This is the men's B leaderboard as things stand. You see Strandberg now on 56 minutes. I'm not sure whether that's an A or B racer actually. Just have a look at trying to look. It's interesting. Metz is way back there behind Strandberg. So these are riders now who probably not, if they're still on the road, they're probably not in trouble with the leaderboard. So we probably assume that some of these results higher up are going to stand. So we can see our with some very European sounding names there. Phil Bottigliero, who I assume is of either Italian or Spanish descent. Joshua Boguslavski is probably Polish or Russian. Andrei Folikov is again Eastern European names. Very dominant at the top. We see riders coming in now in the men's B at 56. There's a rider now following Zani from Italy, 53. So all the riders on the road in the men's races looking to be way outside contention. So we can see. So let's have a quick rundown of the top 20 from the men's B. It's Mike Honcho, Richard Dedeguer. Now, if you look at the time gaps here, again, like we did in the A race, you can see what the sort of like the good riders, they come in a clutch. And you look from Mike Honcho down to about even down at 15th with the Broku. There's not there's 2 minutes in that, and then you start getting the other riders. Brad Borders at 48 now. You start getting that gap at 15th. Although Brad Borders just 0.9 of a second ahead of Jürgen Thiessen. But as I say, I think everybody in the top 15 were the top riders in that men's B race. So let's run down Marek Streck, Rob Rogers, Clive Byam, Marin Hambrick, man with the favourite jersey, Matt Roan, Doug Hackleton, Arnold Denay, and Marino Session. Was it Session? Depends where he goes. Probably Italian, so it's probably Session. Lee Sutton in 14th and David Broku in 15th. Just rounding off the top 20, and I think the riders who are probably in the next clutch, if we're going to divide this up, you get our kind of very elite, and I think that's the certainly the top 3 there. I mean, you look at the time gap between 3rd and 4th, so I think the top 3 are kind of very elite bunch, and then you get through 4th to 15th is the class acts. And then you get the sort of did wells after that. And when I say did well, I mean that with the utmost respect, because this is not an easy course here at the Tour of the Gila, or Gila. I'm not sure of the pronunciation, but it's in New Mexico, USA, brought to you by Echelon Racing. Tour of the Gila is a pro race in the United States that happens annually, and you look out for that one. It's a stage race, so I assume there'll always be a time trial in it. I don't know if this one is the one they use every time, but look out for that, particularly if you're in the USA. I'm sure they some way you can find it covered on TV. I'm not sure what the coverage is like. I mean, we get very Sport by Eurosport in the UK and Europe. Zani coming in for Italy, talking about Europe in the B race. Way outside the times, but well done, sir. Now let's go to our latest races. How far are they into the course, I suppose, is the next question. So if we look at the women, 20 kilometres to go. Now we have 3 riders in here. Godby, Jacqueline Godby, Baker from Canada, and Katie Ouellette from the United States, making up our 3 riders. And if you look at the time gaps, and let's assume that they didn't start too far away from each other, we're looking at sort of quite big gaps here. Disappointing to only have three riders in this. It's not the easiest thing to promote women's racing. Now, we have Dylan Baker is the Canadian, and go on, Dylan. I think you all do it. Katie Ouellette is in there as well, a rider we're familiar with from these Echelon racing series, and we love having her along. It's slightly disappointing not to see more lady riders in this one, and hopefully that'll be put right. They probably had a look at those mountains and thought it's maybe some other things to do, or still getting over the New Year's Eve hangovers, who knows. Not easy getting these off the ground, and I've just started in recent months running a women's league in my own alternate Wednesdays events, West London cycling rides, and I see Katie just hitting a bit of gradient there. And what I've done is put the women in with the men, but extracted their points from the men's race, so that basically they get to ride in bunches of men, and they probably find themselves in a bunch that suits their ability. So the points are given on where you finished in places rather than times, so therefore consequently you can actually race in a bunch, ladies, but the bunch might not be all the other women riders. But bear in mind that if you overtake a couple of blokes on the line, a couple of men on the line, if you overtake a couple of men on the line, you actually increase the points you score over the other females in the race. It's a new formula. I'm not saying nobody's ever done it before, but I've never seen it before, and we're checking it out, and it's opening up quite nicely. We've now got a decent amount of ladies competing in that, so it'd be nice to see ladies racing on RGT developing. And I have to take my hat off to Echelon, because when I did this, I was slightly inspired by commentating on their races. I mean, I had been thinking about it for months, and commentating on these wonderful Echelon races. I just thought how brilliant it was that Echelon support hand cycling and paracycling and women's racing in the way they do. And I thought I'd been sort of pondering how to do a women's race in my own for a long time, and this jogged my thought process a little bit. So I'm going to pay tribute to Echelon. You inspired me a little bit. I didn't use what you do, but it was you, it was commentating on your races that brought that about. So we'll see how that one goes. Watch it. If the formula works, I'm sure other promoters will build it into their series as well. But anyway, well done, girls. Katie, Dylan, and Jacqueline. We shall watch with interest to see how you all fare. And we're looking at Jackie, who's the first one out. She's got 18 kilometres still to go, so quite a way to go. Let's have a look at the hand cycling ones, and we can marvel at these wonderful avatars that we're not used to because they're new. Quite an international field on there, isn't there? Oh no, they're mainly American. There's one Dutchman and a Finn. Arte is the Finn, and Koeman, which is the Netherlands. Who's Koeman? They had a very famous footballer, and I can't think what his first name was, but I don't know if that's a common name in the Netherlands or not, but I certainly remember, was it Ronald Koeman? It was one of the great, I'll say footballers, again, sorry Americans, soccer players. Anyway, maybe Koeman's a popular name in the Netherlands. So Arte is in second place. Now let's have a look at the gaps. Now we're not sure what order they left. 130 metres between Arte and Koeman. Koeman the first one out. So Arte is 13 minutes into the ride, and Pomeroy is 14 minutes into the ride, which suggests that Pomeroy left before Arte, and Arte's overtaken Pomeroy. Just for guidance. It hurts my legs going up hills. How these 5.2% gradient that Pomeroy's enduring. You must have arms like tree trunks. And so I salute you, sir. That's fantastic, isn't it? Jones here for the USA is 14 minutes in as well, and is in third place, which suggests he's probably in line with Pomeroy. The gap's 600 metres. So I'm not quite sure. Pomeroy seems, I would imagine that Pomeroy is catching Arte, the Finn. We shall see. Nice bit of rain there. We change shots and somebody who's not in the rain. it changes that quickly. And I'm just say I'm broadcasting from London, and I went out with my cycling mates this morning, and we had a wonderful ride, and we sat and drank some coffee in the sunshine, and then probably 5 miles before the finish, the heavens opened and we got absolutely soaked. When this happens on the RGT screen, of course, it doesn't bother you, because you're actually indoors in the garage soaking wet already from your own sweat. But of course you don't get the rain, and consequently all the muck on your bike that you then have to wash off when you get home. So, and we got all 3 races on the screen, and paracycling at the bottom. Let's have a look at paracyclists. So Parango is the rider. There's only 2 riders in this actually. So Parango and Kilgore, both from the United States. He gets that rain. Yeah, I'm trying to dry out my cycling shoes at the moment from this morning's shower. You'll probably have to. One of the things I noticed when I first got a smart trainer and started doing a lot of indoor training was that other stuff in the I do mine in my garage, and other stuff started rusting from all the sweat that I was producing in the garage, which isn't a good look. I hope you're not sweating too much. Remember, if you're going to do this, if you're playing this game at home, then make sure you've got a good fan. I sorted that one out. And I rust a lot less in my garage. Kilgore now 500 metres behind, 16 minutes into the race, 5k done, so about a fifth of the way through on 17 minutes. If we extrapolate that out, it's going to take over an hour, and that's the guidance. And again, you know, it's what are we doing? Just under 40. The winning rider was just under 38 minutes in the men's A race. There is going to be a differential here of something a lot more than that, a lot more for the 3 races we're currently following. And the other thing is, I don't know, psychologically it must be harder in these smaller turnouts, because not least if you're looking at that bit, you know, you're looking there, and Kilgore's got it down to 450. I mean, he's probably got the incentive that, you know, let's see if I can catch the guy in front of me, the Minuteman. And if you are chasing the Minuteman, there's he gets a bit of that rain as well. If you are chasing the Minuteman, you know, the thing is, you've got something to aim at. So he's bringing that down to 430 metres now, on a plus 2.4% climb. There's just the 2 of them in the race, remember, and you can see that Kilgore is on, if you look at the bottom of your screen, the smaller of the white blobs is on the tougher, more orange bit of the climb. Now, it may be that while this is piling down and it's under 400 metres distance there, and he may well be chasing down Parangu. Parangu is on at, you know, a much heavier gradient, and it might be that gap opens up again as soon as Parangu, as Kilgore or Kilgore hits the orange section. We shall see. I've got a feeling that even allowing for that, there seems to be a bit of a slowdown in speed as we hit 4.1, and immediately, I'd say that. I was about to say that the gap of 317 metres started to expand, but actually I think Kilgore is holding it steady. You notice the kph here is at 12 kph going up this hill for Kilgore, and 13 now, and the gap's holding, which suggests they're probably both doing it uphill the same. And Kilgore has bought Kilgore has bought the gap right down in the previous section. So one would assume that if they both get over, in fact the gap's coming down even more. So I think we're going to look at Kilgore as the rider. We see Kilgore at the centre of the top row there. See his knees going up and down as he pushes hard. He might look like laid back from the top up, but there is some serious effort going into that legwork there. So this is the Actually, I'm a bit yeah, these I'm getting a bit confused now. Do we have Kilgore in both races? We do, don't we? It's a different one, isn't it? Because the paracycling's got a Kilgore in it and has the hand cycling by the looks of it. No, all right, I correct myself. Paul Kilgore is in the paracycling event, so I'll say that. So yes, I'm confusing myself. Ignore all of that. We'll get back to. So there's hand cycling and paracycling. Kilgore in the paracycling, of course. And the Zoom room doesn't differentiate, so you have to kind of look at the pictures rather than the names, which is what I was doing. So Jacqueline Godby now has got 2.45 kilometres on the nearest rival, who is about to be caught by the looks of things by Kate Ouellette. Jacqueline is looking odds on to win this race. She's going to hit the halfway stage at just over 22 minutes. So Jacqueline is very much in line with the second tier of the men's race, and look at her just powering up that little slope that caught so many people out earlier on. So Jacqueline Godby is the I think going to be the winner of that one. Kate Ouellette is chasing Dylan Doka 162 metres. I think Kate will probably catch Dylan. This is speculative, of course. Mind you, Dylan's chucking in a massive 45 kph right now on 0% gradient, so maybe not. It's holding steady at about 130 metres. Dylan's she's hit 3.1% gradient now and slows right down to 23. But look at the gap. Gap's down to 79 metres. Kate catching, but Kate about to hit the gradient and her speed drops down to 26. So 26, if she maintains that, it's down to 25 now. Was better than Dylan's 23, but that differential, as I see Kate can see Dylan ahead now. She's pushing out 226 on a climb. It's probably about what I do, to be honest. Maybe I hit 3 sometimes. No, I think she can see her ahead. It's down at 49 metres now. Kate's going to get there. I think she's going to get there 43 metres. It's not easy to haul someone in when you're going up a hill. 3% gradient. I mean, it hurts on a climb like this. We're down to 31 metres. Yes, definitely hauling her in. It must be demoralising for Dylan. But remember, of course, ladies, with only 3 riders in, fortune favours the brave, and all 3 of you will be on the podium, assuming you finish. And chapeau for taking part. Nobody can complain, nobody can turn around and say, well, there was only 3 racers in it, can they? Because they weren't there. Well, probably the other 2, of course. But no, I think well done for all these ladies doing. Yeah, we need some more ladies. If you're a lady and you're watching this, get involved next time. We've had more than this in previous races, so it's a little bit disappointing today. I have to say, time trials are not everybody's cup of tea, and by the same token, this was a tough one, going over that coal twice, as you can see by the profile at the bottom, as Kate finally hauls in Dylan. Hope she'll give a nice little hello and not too smug as she overtakes. Dylan's can sit there, but I don't think she's going to get any draft advantage because you switch that off when you set up a time trial in RGT, of course. So Dylan now is probably going to have to settle for 3rd place on the podium, and Dylan's sort of putting out 15, but we are going up to 16. It's 15 kph or 6% gradient. So you watch Katie just get over it first. Dylan's still pushing out 254 watts, so it's not as if she's not putting a lot of effort in. She just crests that little hump and starts going downhill. Well, she's not giving up, is she? Maybe she doesn't like a climb, like the other people didn't turn up. Let's have a look at paracycling just to see how Kilgore is comparing to Peringo. 1.35 kilometres. So I think Peringo is now pulling away and taking advantage of the descent. But as you can see, Kilgore is just on these are the two white dots at the bottom of your screen. You can see that Peringo is at the bottom of the blue section and is therefore at the bottom. I say the bottom of the descent. It goes light blue, so there's a bit more descent before another bit of dark blue, which again will be steep descent. Whereas Kilgore is just coming out of the orange section, which is the steeper ascent, onto a green section, which is probably it's actually slightly downhill. We're looking at 2.4%. So we'll see how much Kilgore catches up on the descent of that. Kate Ouellette, Dylan Baker has got back in front of Kate Ouellette. I think Dylan Baker probably doesn't like climbing. That's interesting. Oh, look. They're neck and neck as they come through here. Obviously, they didn't start together. So Kate Ouellette is at 26 minutes, and Baker is on 26:35. So there's not a lot of difference here. Well, okay, so there's only about 20 seconds. Well, they're probably 15 seconds apart at the start. So this is interesting. So they're going up a little climb there, and we saw Dylan get caught on that climb, but she actually pulls away a few meters on Kate around the turn. So that's the turn. We're on the way back now. Kate just having caught Dylan. He's now watching Dylan sail up the road. Now this will be interesting. It strikes me that Kate got the best out of her race on the ascent, and we've got the toughest ascent to come. So this is going to be a cracker, isn't it? Meanwhile, Jacqueline Godby is way up the road at 3.38 kilometres, and as long as she doesn't get a tacanical or tear a muscle or something like that, looks set for top place on the podium today. So, hand cycling. Let's have a look at the hand cycling chaps and see how they are getting on. Koeman is 500 metres ahead of Arte, Pomeroy and Jones and Parker behind, with Post in the last position. Not that this means anything in terms of race position, because it is of course time that tells the story. And we're looking now at Arte from Finland, who is 10k into the race, 27 minutes, so it's about 2/5 of the way through. 28 minutes for Pomeroy. So although I'm sitting there saying that if you look at the 6 riders online, you will, the position in the standings doesn't actually tell you where they are in the race, because it's all about time. Of course, the results here are the current times are saying that Pomeroy is behind Arte. Pomeroy just over. Oh, so this is Jones just over the crest there, and he immediately speeds up to 40 kph, enjoying the downward trajectory at 28 minutes on 7 kilometres, so outside the times from the guys further ahead in the field. I think it tells a story that the guys further up the field, if you look at the gaps and bear in mind the 15-second time gaps, you can see that the top 3 riders have all done, they're all 3 kilometres ahead of the last 3 riders. So I think the top 3 on the podium is going to come from Koeman from the Netherlands, Arte from Finland, and Pomeroy from the United States. I think we just have to wait and see which one does the best, because the difference between Koeman and Arte isn't huge. You can see Sander Koeman up there, top left of your screen, Pomeroy just below, stripped to the waist, presumably to cool down in the heat of things indoors, despite the fact it being winter in the Northern Hemisphere. Jackie Jones on the right and Austin Parker in the middle, all hand cycling, and got Kilgore and Peringo Oh, it's Parangayo. Sorry, I'll be mispronouncing it. Parangayo, Dennis Parangayo, the two paracyclists at the top in the recumbent cycling positions. So let's have a look at the paracycling data at the moment. Parangayo now comfortably ahead by 1 kilometre of Kilgore, so I think Parangayo is probably looking set for good position, but we've still got the second climb of the day, which is going to be big. So it's still undulating in between here. You can see Parangayo and Parangayo, which is the smaller white dot on the bottom of your screen, about to hit an orange segment. Remember, the orange bit's steeper, and the darker red it goes, the steeper it is. And conversely, it's rather like the taps in your bathroom, isn't it? Red for hot and blue for cold. You certainly get hot going up a hill, and you can get very cold coming down one. Although I say that, I tend to find in virtual racing, you don't freewheel down hills. I mean, it might be less effort, but you know, you're not freewheeling. You still got to work. Funny, so this morning, one of the guys on our ride was riding fixed wheel, and of course, we went down some steep hills, and his legs were absolutely spinning around at a phenomenal rate. Just because you have to keep pedaling on fixie, don't you? I've never ridden one, so I don't actually know what it feels like, but it's not something I should be signing up for anytime soon. 6% now for Parangayo. You can see this little red blob in the middle of the course. He's 11.58 kilometres into the race out of 14, so heading for the turn. We've got those nasty little undulations right in the centre of the course, which kind of looks like some sort of flag for the country, doesn't it, with that orange, yellow, blue, green and whatever making up the colours. So looking at the paracycling now, there are, or at least Parangayo is coming up probably a couple of kilometres, about 2.5 kilometres to the halfway stage, and we're going to hit the halfway stage in the hand cycling event first. 12.51. I think is that the banner. We can just see now. Remember, as you come up to this banner, you get this great big drop, and then all of a sudden it ramps up momentarily to 8.1%, and then 6.9%. To get through the banner, which always looks agonising, doesn't it? I mean, you can see here, you can just see this dip, and you just know you're going to fly down that, and you want all the momentum you can get to fly up the other side, and then it just goes bang and hits it. 8.1% there, 9% actually. Look, momentarily back down to 8.1, and then it drops to 6.9 in a second. There we go, and you just see the speed just disintegrating. As no doubt each and every rider is going, oh, take me up through that banner. In fact, when you get through the banner, it still goes up a little bit, and so you go through. So 33.08 for Koeman, who is the first across the line in the hand cycling race. Arte is 33. So he's probably going to be outside that, and I think the leaderboard is probably going to look a little bit like the, certainly for the first three, is going to look like it stands at the moment. In fact, probably, I don't know, the you know, 4th, 5th and 6th in there are not massively apart, and it rather depends how each one of them copes with the climb on the way back. Arte from Finland is coming up to that barrier. It's going to be quite a bit slower than Koeman, it looks like. So it looks like Netherlands, Finland, USA podium, and you see the if you change the views, Parangayo now just coming up to the halfway stage. Remember, the hand cyclists are ahead of the paracyclists. So Parangayo is going to do this in 35. This is probably going to be it's not going to be as much as 36, I don't think. But mind you, having said that, given the gradient, that could be a 36. It is going to be over 36, I think. I'll just see, it's 35.25. I think it's going to be over 36, isn't it, for the paracycling? Parangaya in first place, 1.15 kilometres ahead of Kilgore. We're over 36. No, we're not. It's 35.36. Sorry. Go on, see if you can get under 36. Go on, go on. Go on, 35.47. I think you're going to do it, aren't you? Yeah, it's going to be 35.5 something. Well done. Exceptional. Absolutely great riding, Mr. Parangaya. So, Parangaya getting over and under 36. We're looking over at the hand cycling now, and we're looking at Pomeroy, who is in third position. He's actually going to be over 36 in third place in that. So it's probably just the first two hand cyclists that are ahead of the paracyclists in terms of time. And again, the 9% bit gets hit by Pomeroy, and the arms must be absolutely squeezing out every bit of energy and effort to get up that 9%. It's not easy on these computerized platforms. It's on RGT, of course, and as I said earlier, these are magic roads where you can recreate horses, and the horse we're on today is Tour of Gila in New Mexico. So I'm not sure whether it's Gila or Gila, but it is a professional race that's held annually in the United States of America, sponsored by SRAM. Today, this is all supported by Echelon, Echelon Racing Promotions. They do a superb job, and the fact that they encompass women's hand and para racing, I think, is all credit to Echelon, and very well done, sirs. The broadcasting, of course, as we've just seen from the logo there, brought to you by ZMS. Damon Bates, the man at the controls, and doing a splendid job of it too. Thanks very much, Damon, for everything you do. He actually works very hard putting these together. I can tell you, we are in contact, which may not always seem the case when the pictures change, but that's probably more my fault than his. So let's see what's unfolding next. Right, so in the hand cycling, 37, the rider we're on at the moment is Jones, who's in fourth place. And as I say, I think this is kind of the first three is probably decided, so probably racing for fourth place here. Jones comfortable 700 metres in front of Parker, so even allowing for the time difference starts 37 minutes, not quite halfway in the race though. So it's going to be way outside the leaders. Kilgore coming through on 38 minutes, which is actually struggling a little bit. Look, 6.9 kph 7 just on this last bit of the climb, 6.6%. Jacqueline Godby, who will be the day, she's 6 kilometres ahead of anybody else on the course, and they even allowing for the start time differences, this is not going to be made up. Look at Katie Ullett and Dylan Baker though, absolutely together. So it's the difference between those two is going to be the start time, isn't it? It's it really is. Jacqueline Godby, just a kilometre to go home, should be washed and showered before everybody else gets the finishing line, I should imagine. Absolutely emphatic. Well done, Jacqueline. Great riding. Hopefully next time we can have a few more ladies along. Come on, ladies, get involved. This is brilliant. Echelon are putting a lot of effort into this. We've had more riders in other races, so you know, you probably all had too much to drink on Christmas Eve. Sorry, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, I guess. Who knows? So Jacqueline coming in, 600 metres to go. Dylan Baker and Kate Ullett riding together. No draft effect, remember though, so it's you know, I think they just happen to be neck and neck, because in a time trial, if you've ever ridden one, you know, you just get down and gasp, don't you? It's just like, you know, push, 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 push. It's quite relentless in a time trial. You're on your own. You know, you have to endure all the undulations, the wind effect in real life races, of course, and everything else. So just coming up to the line, and that's a very respectable time, Jacqueline. That's going to just be under 41. That would get you very high up in the men's race, so that is exceptional. Cracking race, Jacqueline. Félicitations and congratulations. Superb racing. Absolutely brilliant. Kate Olet now is just falling behind Dylan Baker. I wonder if Dylan's going to pull out now. Dylan Baker on a better time, and I think Dylan Baker must have started first out of these two. And I think Dylan's now pulling away. They are, of course, on the descent, and this happened last time, didn't it? That Dylan was getting caught on the ascent, but struggled on the descent. 5 kilometres to go, but it's downhill all the way, as people always like to say to you on cycle rides, even though it never is. Actually, I think in this case it actually is, isn't it? Dylan Baker now is definitely distancing Kate Olet, 53 metres, and I think is going to take second place. There's only so there's a kind of break point, isn't there, in all of this? Look at the paracycling. Somebody struggling down there at 4.9%, 10 kph into the second half of the race. Hand cycling, we see Jones coming in 41 at the halfway stage. So this is agonising. Look at that, you can just see the little crest. It must be, come closer, come closer. Sometimes you look up when you're up the hill, you think, oh, it's only just there, and you look up again, which seems like ages afterwards, and it still looks the same distance, doesn't it? Agonising stuff. Looking at the ladies race now, up to 72, 74 metres difference between Ouellet and yeah, so Dylan Baker and Ouellet now. I think that distance is probably going to hold. I would imagine that what's happening, even though it's downhill, and one would assume that people of comparable weights would roll down the hill at the same rate, but of course in virtual racing you keep pedalling, and it looks like Dylan Baker's probably got a little bit more left in the tank than Kate Olet in terms of pedal power for the rest of the descent, so you do keep racing. I'm going to paracycling now, 800 metres gap between Paringao and Kilgore, so things as you were. So Paringao now over a kilometre ahead of Kilgore, so he's going to be the winner, I think, of this, even though there's still 9.5 kilometres to go. There he is in the top right. He's not looking smug about it. He's probably thinking, oh my god, there's still 9.5 kilometres to go. Will this ever end? Yes, it will. And Kilgore on the left, not giving up either. I'm just looking at the leg movements, and you can see the cadence, I think, of Paringao is slightly ahead of Kilgore's. Looking at the screen is my guess. Kilgore just momentarily stops there. That's going to cost him time. Interesting. Oh, he stopped again, and I don't know if that's technical. He started up again. That doesn't look good for Paul Kilgore. No, he's up racing again. Okay, he's off again. That would have cost him time and just feeds into Paringao's lead, which is now 1.2 kilometres. So I think Paul Kilgore has either just got over a technical or has kind of just had to tweak something and realised that probably this is somewhere we just fight. You just sit in and finish off and see what time you can get. So Parker is the next rider coming up in the hand cycling, in 5th place at the moment, just getting hit by that 8.1% gradient. The speed goes down, it was 9% momentarily, remember, and speed right down to 7.2 kph, even lower, and back up again. 45 minutes in, just about the halfway stage. This could be a long hour and a half sitting there pumping away with your arms. And oh, just look at this, 6.7. It just looks, and as I say, you've got two things to aim at there, haven't you? You've got one, the halfway marker, and right, as it comes up to the halfway marker, 6.7 kph, and you sort of think, right, I'm halfway. Oh no, look, still got that little crest to go, and the gradient's not going to ease till I get there. But you know, over the other side it goes downhill a bit. I can tell you that, because it goes, well, it goes yellow and then so actually it doesn't immediately go down, I suppose, but it yeah, so you're probably on the yellow bit now. As Post in last place, it's actually going up that fast than Parker was, that 8.1 kph, so maybe making up a little bit of ground. 85 meters, you're about to descent next. So this is for all its toughness, and you can just tell by the speed drops, she's lost it a little bit, 7.7, but it's still faster than Parker. So Post may be making up some ground. That's not the story on the distance, because of course Parker already going down the hill. Just 1.2 kilometres for Dylan Baker, now 129 metres ahead of Kate Millett. I think we can assume that Dylan Baker 47, so she goes under that at 47.24. Let's see what Kate Millett does at 47.24 to beat Kate Millett 47.05. So Kate Millett, despite being distanced by Dylan Baker, could actually take second place. So Dylan needs to pull out something like 15 seconds in the last kilometre, which means a flat out sprint. The distance is slightly going up, but I don't think it's going up by that amount of time. So I think Kate Millett will finish third. She'll be the third person to cross the line, but in second position. 145 metres is the gap. If that stays about the same, Dylan Baker is going to be second across the line, but third at the finish. So maybe Kate wasn't too bothered about Dylan pulling away. We were discussing it earlier. It's 133 metres. Kate is fighting for this. She's pulling it down. It's into the 120s momentarily, back up to 130. I think Kate is going to be in second place. 260 watts being pushed out by Dylan Baker. Cadence of 90, heart rate of 186. I beg your pardon. 38 kph. 150 metres to go. And you can see the wattage they're putting out, 4.5 watts per kilogram for Dylan Baker, and she is putting out more watts than Kate Millett. But that gap, she's slightly gapping her, but it's 138. If Kate does the same in the final sort of 25 metres as Dylan did, I think we are going to be looking at Kate taking the podium. So there we are, 48.32. I think Kate Millett is going to be second place after Jacqueline Godby, and the results will be on your screen very, very shortly, I assure you. What a thrilling finish. Didn't those girls battle it out? Hats off to Dylan, actually, for fighting back. So the results beginning to populate. You can look at it in the bottom right hand side of your screen. Jacqueline Godby, and as I said, Kate Millett getting that by 15 seconds. Fantastic race there. So there may not have been many ladies, but wasn't that exciting? And not for the first time. The ladies' race has been rather more exciting away from the first place. You know, it's the rest of the field where you get all the jewels, and I'm saying quite a few of these, the ladies racing has been the memorable one. So well done, ladies, you've entertained us yet again. What a fantastic job you do, and thank you Echelon for letting them do it. Absolutely superb. Great women's race again. Make no mistake, this women's racing on here is good. Just need a few more of you girls. Come on, tell your friends. Tell your friends. Make sure you tell the friends who are not as fast as you, though. Obviously, don't tell all your friends and then find you get pushed back into lower placings. So what have we got left? We're watching Gila in second on the road and probably second on the podium in the paracycling on the left. 8.7 kilometres to go. The hand cycling 7.6. We're currently watching Koeman, who's at the head of the race though. So I think the two paracycling cyclists will finish before the hand cycling race ends, but I think the hand cycling race winners will finish before the paracycling race winners. And if you followed that and you're paying attention, well done you, because I'm not sure which is hardest. or watching or actually doing the race. I think probably doing the race. Come on, this is not an easy parkour. This is taken in 407 meters of climbing in just 26 kilometers. I think I started to say this earlier and something happened and I never quite finished off the point I was making, that I think depending on where you live, you'll have a sort of feeling for what you consider to be an average amount of meters climbed for a ride. And I remember having a conversation with a lady who lived on the eastern side of southern Britain. I suppose I live on the eastern side technically, but I live on the western side of London. And there's a lot more hills where I live than on the east coast of the UK, or certainly the southern section anyway. And I made a comment that I decided whether the ride was hilly or it wasn't by the ratio of meters climbed to the distance. And my benchmark, always based on where I live, is something like if you do 1% of the distance in climbing, that is the average, and anything above that is hilly and below it is not. And the lady said, that sounds really a lot, because she didn't have that many hills where she lived. And I'm sure people who live in hilly districts probably think I'm way off it, because they ride far more hills than I do. So what have we got here? If you take my measure of it, which is just my personal measure, not for you to get too worked up about in either congratulating me or absolutely dissing me for being way off the mark, based on where I ride, 1% is the what I would consider to be the average between a hilly ride and a flat ride. This, by comparison, 407 meters over 26, it's way above that. So this is, in my view, a tough course, especially for time trial. I mean, again, it depends where you live and what you do. I associate time trials with reasonably flat courses. It's how far have we got to go? Let's look at the paracyclists now. We're with Baragao. He's got 7.7 to go, and with the we're looking at Post, who's in last place on the hand cycling. He's got 10 kilometers to go. He's nearly up to an hour and 3/5 of the way through the race. So quite a long afternoon ahead. I say afternoon, I do beg your pardon. Of course, I say that broadcasting from London in Britain, whereas if you're living further west of where I am, I'm sure it's nowhere near the evening yet, whereas I'm probably about to decide what I'm going to have for dinner tonight after this race. But more importantly, let's get back to the racing. My dining requirements are not what we're here for. This is all about Echelon racing from the USA. We're doing Tour of the Gila time trial today. It's 26.12 there and back kilometers. The turn means you have to go over a col twice, and I think it's sort of safe to say that if you look at the paracyclists, they are now just nearing the top of the second col, so it'll be downhill all the way for the paracyclists from, I'll say that, poor old Gila is about halfway up it, so a little bit to go. Interesting story, the leader in Koeman, the leader of the hand cycling, is way ahead of that, heading for home now, comfortably 1.97 kilometers ahead of Arte from Finland, and 2.74 kilometers ahead of Pomeroy from the United States, and heading for a win for the Netherlands, and comfortably so. So this is going to be downhill pretty much to the finish now, and Arte is about to enjoy the same downhill pleasure. The other four riders in this race, so Pomeroy is quite near the top of the nasty climb. The other three either just on it or about to start having their arms hurting, I would guess. Pomeroy just near the top there, 6.4, not far to go to reach the crest. You can visually see it, can't you? And as I said earlier, these things look agonisingly close, and they seem to sort of, you ride on 10 metres and the view seems to look the same as if you never got any nearer the top. And I'm sure it's psychological, of course. Actually, what you can see the gaps underneath the foliage of the trees are getting bigger and bigger, which tells you you're getting closer and closer to the top. And you can see the tree trunks now. So it's agonising. It's still 6.5%. The vision tells you it's all about to end. But there we are. It's I'll take my hat off to all of them. So on the descent now for the paracyclists, or at least the leader Parangao, and it's downhill all the way. As I say, Kilgore agonisingly near the top, as we've just seen, and we're also watching now on the paracycling Jones, who's in 4th place, is now painfully going up the 5.2% gradient in the early stages of the climb back. Now, I've said all along that the climb back is harder. This is indicated, and I am vindicated, by the redness of the bit they're on. So if you look at the big white blob at the bottom of your screen, that is Jack Jones, and he's just hitting that dark red. And now remember that the return journey is a mirror image of the first leg, because it's a there and back race. So that very dark blue descent is what we're now going back up. But if you look at just before that very dark blue patch of ascent, the way up the col on the way out is a very lighter orange, and that just tells you it's a lot less difficult than this one on the way back. And we see Jack Jones now entering the red zone, probably both metaphorically and on the profile on the map. So enjoy the red zone, and we'll go back and have a look at the paracycling, and we see it's only 5.4 kilometers for Parangao, who's pushing out now at 40 kph, minus 2.4 gradient. That's a very decent speed, and I think Parangao is probably enjoying the thought that he hasn't got to go up any more climbs. Kilgore is probably looking at that crest and thinking, why doesn't this get closer, as I was explaining earlier. But you're nearly there, I don't think the descent's going to allow you to catch Parangao at the front, who's sailing away at minus 1.5, gradient not quite as much, and the speed just drops off from 40 down to 39, probably as a result. Meanwhile, speed of 44 in the hand cycling for Koeman, who's well in the lead and absolutely flying. Look at this as he heads for home. 2.3 kilometers to go, all sweetly downhill, and safe in the knowledge that nobody is going to catch him now on the road. And given the time gaps at the start, because this is a time trial, remember, nobody's going to make up the difference. This is Koeman's to enjoy, and Arte will probably take second place. We can see Sander Koeman up there in the top left. Now, if that was me, my mouth would be wide open, just gasping for every bit of oxygen going. But doesn't he look smooth and cool, eh? What a smoothie. I do get envious. Anyway, hats off and chapeau, Sander. You've ridden a brilliant race. All 6 people on our screen have ridden a brilliant race. In fact, I salute everybody who's done this. I don't think I would be able to sit in my garage and go up and down a mountain like that in a race situation. I've done a few, certainly on my own. Well, I suppose one could argue, yeah, I've done them on my own at my own speed. I suppose that's what time trial's all about, isn't it? But there's that pressure. There's not that little bit of go, oh, I'm a bit tired, I'll relax a little bit. It's like a time trial. No, I can't stop. Koeman heading for home, about to hit the Flamme Rouge, which we can just about see at the end of the road there. I like those little coloured patches where the road's obviously been deformed and had a repair on. There's a little white. It's almost like that bit of road's been deemed to be dry or had different tarmac laid on. And you see another little splodge of white stuff at the edge of the road as the Flamme Rouge looms up. 1 hour for Koeman, and you contrast this to the winning men's A, not their comparable races, of course. Just under 38, so it's 38 minutes versus 1 hour. But this is emphatic, nevertheless, in the hand cycling. You see 1.67 kilometres against Arte, 3.95 ahead of Pomeroy, who've both ridden brilliant races. And all right, the next three at 7 minutes, there may be a gap there, but this is tough going. I think just to finish this is an achievement. I think everybody should get a medal. What do you think? I don't suppose Echelon want to post everybody a medal. I post medals out for series winners on my races, and without being biased, I sort of often think about it and think, the further you live away, the more it's going to cost me to send you your trophies. So I say that in the last series 3, it came down to the last race, and it was Ned Bowen from Chicago versus Nick Greenhouse from London, and I was completely neutral about this, as I always am, but it wouldn't have made any difference because I give out prizes for second place anyway. So I still had to send, for the second time, Ned Bowen a trophy to Chicago, which I've since seen on some of his videos sitting behind him when he's cycling. So he decently did value them when they arrived. 170 metres for Koeman now for the Netherlands. You can see the finishing line ahead. We start getting the barriered section, which always sort of ramps up a bit, doesn't it? When you're watching the pro races on the TV, they're getting into the barriered section now. It's all getting exciting. Slightly less people here than the Tour de France, but nevertheless, look on the left, we have lots of lovely fans clapping Mr. Koeman over the road. Over the line, and he eases up for a well-earned rest, and we can see him wiping his face there on the top left-hand corner. Probably need more than one towel after that, I should imagine. Terrific effort, well done, Sander. Puts his glasses on. Look, he couldn't even see where he was going. He didn't have his glasses on, so he's probably just chugging away. Having a look at the scores. Arte, look, just crossing the Flamme Rouge now, and going to get second place, but nevertheless a fantastic ride. Arte not on our Zoom room collection. We have a lot of fine looking chaps nevertheless in the shapes of Sander Koeman, Paul Kilgore, Dennis Parango, and Sander's just changed the view of himself, and Joe Pomeroy at the bottom. Sander's given us a very artistic sort of view around the room, around his room with Zoom. Austin Parker and Jackie Jones making up the view there. Jackie Jones with the red neck sheath around his forehead there. Arte still with 400 metres to go, but so it's slightly uphill, isn't it, at 0.2 just up to the finish, but nevertheless very well done, and popping out 30 kph as he rolls up to the line, and will take second spot on the podium in this Echelon Racing Classic from or based on the Tour of Gila in New Mexico, United States of America. Thanks very much to Echelon for putting this on. It's been another superb day's racing, and not least thanks to the efforts of Damon Bates at ZMS, who's controlling all the switches and brings you the pictures. I just have to talk about it as Arte crosses the line, to have a chat with Koeman and no doubt congratulate each other by text, of course, because they're not really going to be parked next to each other like they look there. So Parangaio now inside the final kilometre and sailing towards the finishing line for another fantastic, well-earned win. 1.05, and you can see, as I said earlier, the difference is, I don't think tell you anything about the hand cyclists per se, but I think it just shows you the quality in the men's A and B races for the speeds they got, or the times they got, I should say. They were exceptional, and the quality of these riders. And bear in mind that Echelon also run the professional side of it. So this is the community series for non-professionals, and it provides some absolute quality riders and times nevertheless. So Parangaio now just 250 metres, a bit less to round off the paracycling, and we will see the leaderboards coming up shortly after he crosses the line, because that will be it for paracycling. We're just left with the hand cycling to finish, and you see the banner at the top there. So Parangaio is sitting up slightly, easing off just to cross the line and take the applause of the crowd, and it's a well-earned win for him. So the leaderboards are coming up. Sander Koeman and Mika Arte of Finland have already finished in the hand cycling. The paracycling will populate in a moment, of course. I don't know how it feels because I never win races, but when you see those little avatars of the crowd clapping you across the line, I'm not sure how that sort of kind of makes you feel, but I do know that if you cross the Pomeroy in third place, is crossing the line in the hand cycling. But I some of these races you can do, like the Sportives or Grand Fondos, where you can go and ride. So Mark Dennis, winner of the paracycling, not sure that's the right name, but there we are. You shall see. Slightly confused because that doesn't say Parangaio, who I thought was the winner. Nevertheless, if Parangaio, maybe it's. I'm quickly looking to see if Mark Dennis is an anagram of Parangaio, but I think it's probably first name, isn't it? He's M Parangaio. So I'm sure it's the same guy. But I was about to say that if you go and do some of these amateur things you can do, like the Tacta Tour, or many of the great European races have a Grand Fondo Sportif ahead of the professional race, so you can go and race it. Certainly in the case of spring classics like Paris-Roubaix or Tour of Flanders, you can ride these races the day before the professionals, and then the next day watch the professionals race them. So it's all set up for the professional race the next day, and everything's in place, so you get to ride it as they do, and the finishing line is probably set up. If it is the same, it certainly is on Tour of Flanders. And if you do Paris-Roubaix, you finish in the same velodrome they will finish in. And as you cross those lines, people come out to support their relatives, but they very kindly clap yours. Pomeroy comes home in 1:08:49 to take third spot. But like I say, you get to these finishes and there are crowds of people out because they're basically relatives of other people racing it. And they very politely cheer you and clap you across the line. I say politely, they're probably bored waiting for their loved ones, and it gives them something to do. And they probably enjoy the fact that you thank them. So it all works very nicely, but it does have that sort of momentary feel as if you are crossing the line in front of a bit of a crowd who appreciate your efforts, even though you probably just finished 237th in some sort of sportif or other. But nevertheless, you go for the experience, and they are fantastic events, I can assure you. Thoroughly recommended. We've probably got an American audience here today, but there are quite a few Americans who turn up at some of these events and ride these pro race courses the day before the professionals in Europe. Now, I'm sure the UCI over the years will probably start making sure that there's some classic races in other parts of the country, the world. Certainly, whilst professional road racing has its roots in Europe, rather like football had its roots in Europe and South America. This is soccer, by the way, for the Americans. The FIFA, who run football, have very much made a point of trying to establish soccer outside of the traditional nations, and I would imagine that the UCI would be very keen on doing that. So hopefully, unlike all these Americans coming over to Europe to ride in our classic, when I say our classic races, I'm British, we haven't got any, but coming over to Europe to ride in the classic events, I'm looking forward to the day when I can go over to the United States and maybe do the tour of the Gila, I don't know, or Gila, I'm not sure of the pronunciation. Maybe. I'd love to go and... we did a race for Echelon in Colorado the other day, and that looked fantastic. I wouldn't mind going there, but I'm sure, from my experience, the United States has got a hell of a lot of different scenery and plenty to offer, so anywhere will do. And if Echelon want to pay for me to come over and sponsor, don't feel shy, guys. So, populating now the hand cycling, we know the top three. It's Sandakuma, Mika Arte and Joe Pomeroy, as we predicted. Times of 102, 104 and 108, not a massive amount apart, so that's pretty decent from that point of view. We know about the ladies' race. That was an absolute cracker, just 17 seconds between Kate Ouellette and Dylan Baker, with Jacqueline Godby powering away as we've seen her do so in the past in these Echelon races. An absolute class rider, actually almost matching the men's times at the front of the course. That would have been a good time in the men's race. So Jacqueline Godby, God bless you, that was fantastic. Thanks Kate and Dylan for a very entertaining duel. Kate sitting up a little bit towards the end, but she had the time in hand and kept that 17 seconds to take second place. Dylan, I thought you were fantastic and you responded well at the end, pulling away from Kate. Very impressive. The hand cycling, Sander Koeman, as I say, we knew before the end that he would beat Mika Arte, but that was only 2 minutes, and Joe Pomeroy only another 4 minutes or nearly 5 minutes behind that. So very well done, all three of you, in the hand cycling. The hand cycling still going on. Again, even allowing for the difference, there's only 3 minute difference between the two guys in the paracycling, so closer than you might think. Let's say this is a time trial, so you don't really see it visually in the way that you do with a road race, but yeah, absolutely fantastic, both of you, well done indeed. So we go back to Jackie Jones, who is in fourth place, is only 1.7k behind, or away from the line, I should say, and he's going to do, I would guess, what are we talking about, maybe 116. I'm going to put in 3 minutes in for a kilometre, which might be that might be a little bit out, but I'm trying to factor in. There is a very small gradient up to the finishing line. It's only 0.2%, but I just wonder, after all this, how far that will go. So what else is there to say? We've got more Echelon racing to look forward to. Make sure you look at the next race. I think it was January the 15th. It's the next time the community racing is on, with the 22nd is a weekend of Echelon professional racing. The Echelon series is a winter series, and good stuff it is too. Jackie Jones just passed in the Flamme Rouge there, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's obviously geared up towards the North American market, but those of us in Northern Europe, and probably all of Europe actually, it suits very much too. Even allowing for, I mean, I think it's wonderful that it's one of those start times where, okay, it might be the morning wherever you live on the American side of the Atlantic, but it's sort of late afternoon, evening for us in Europe, so therefore we can all race together, and I think this is quite nice, quite a nice little setup. 3 riders still out there, and Paul Cooper is still pumping away. I thought he'd finished. Anyway, Jackie Jones is the arms that we can see in the blue with the red bandana in the hair. So I think just having a look at the time, Jackie Jones is, what are we looking at? Jackie Jones is in 4th place with just 200 meters to go. So that's a good result, and that is a good time. 1:15. I'll probably be proud of that. That's for sure. It's great to see, and just, you know, I'll say it again because we can't say it too often. Aren't these hand cycling avatars fantastic? RGT, you've done a superb job. Chapeau. This really is a good addition to the event. Right then, Jackie Jones taking a rest. And the hands go behind the head. Oh, dear. Well done, Jackie. Yeah, look, oh, bring me something to drink. Austin Parker in the middle there, hand cycling. Still Paul Cooper winding down, I guess. So, paracycling finished, women's cycling finished. We'll wait 2 more riders in the hand cycling. 2.8 kilometres to go for Parker, and Post just under a kilometre behind that. So I think we can predict which order they're going to come into. We are going to get, there we are, Jackie Jones is 1:15, just 7 minutes behind Joe Pomeroy. And very well done, Jackie. It's Parker and Post are the last 2 riders to come home. 2.5 kilometres, 3.5 kilometres for Parker. So it's 2.3 kilometres for. I do beg your pardon. What am I reading? Yeah, sorry, it's Post that's 3.5, isn't it? So watch these 2 come in, and as I said before, make sure you've got it in your diary. January the 15th, next time for Echelon Racing. Community Series, the 22nd Professional Series, brought to you by ZMS. So you can watch it live stream on Facebook, ESTV in the United States, of course. I hope you've enjoyed what Damien's put together for you in terms of production on this one. It's, I'd say, a lot of effort goes into it. I don't actually watch him do all the work, but I'm sure it takes a lot longer than I'd have to devote to it, and so hats off to you, Damien, for putting it all together. RGT bring you, of course, the platform that it's all done on, and the ability to do magic roads, which means we can all make races up on our favourite courses, and I'm sure that in 25 years time we'll come with pictures of where you're actually riding through. Who knows? Steering and all sorts of technology. You look back on this one day and say, what, there's no steering? It's coming. Steering is coming, that is for sure. Whether or not we'll get to the stage where, rather like Google Earth, you can make up a magic road like this and it will actually pick up the real scenery, that will be interesting. You have to remember that Google Earth is actually, I think, a little bit stuck in time. I mean, I certainly, before I went somewhere, looked at a visual image of something on Google Earth, and when I got there it was completely different because the picture was so old. So be careful. Things change. I don't know how often they update them. So last kilometre for Parker, and it's about 2.3 kilometres for Post before we wrap up with our final standings and resume of the results here on ZMS for Echelon Racing Community Series. Your first of 2022. So the first of 2022, and we're into a new year, a new era, and we're only halfway through the Echelon Racing Leagues this winter. If you're looking for something to do on a Wednesday evening, every other Wednesday I run a race called West London Cycling, or West London VR races, VR standing for virtual racing. They start at 7:30 p.m. UK time, so add about 5 to 7 hours on, depending on where you are in the United States. There is going to be another series starting on the alternate Wednesdays that I don't use, run by Mike Lister. So Wednesdays at 7:30 are going to become a key spot in your diary on ZMS and on RGT. When I say 7:30, remember that is the UK time, so you're going to have to adjust for that wherever you're living. So probably about lunchtime for a lot of people in the United States. And I know that some of the American riders who race my races, definitely they actually do them during the lunch hour. The races are just 16 kilometres, so they take, you know, between 20 and 25 minutes depending on how fast you go, and people have time to do them in their lunch hour. So it's as I say, most of the American riders we have in our races are on their lunchtime. So we see Jackie Jones cross the line, 1 hour 21:26. Very well done, Jackie. Sorry, it's not Jackie Jones as well, it's Parker, isn't it? I do beg your pardon. Parker crossing the line in 1 hour 21. And Post now just going through the Flamme Rouge, last rider out there today, and about to complete a very, very grueling course. And we salute you, sir, as you wind down. 900 metres to go. So there we have Jackie Jones in fourth, populate with Parker and Jones in due course, all being processed and whizzing round bytes in a computer as we speak. It will populate itself, and unless someone's pulled out the plug, Austin Parker, there we are, 1 hour 21, just under 6 minutes behind Jackie Jones. And Post now, 500 metres to go, 122, so we're going to be 123 something in the final. So I mean, not actually that far behind Austin Parker at the end of the day, and it's very commendable. I'm no expert on hand cycling, I have to say, but I do imagine that nobody starts out life, not many people start out life doing hand cycling, and it probably is something that you build up, I would guess. I don't say this with any authority whatsoever. I should imagine that you probably get better and better at it the more you do, as with anything, but particularly so because, I mean, you take up cycling, but you've probably ridden a bike since you were a kid anyway. But as I say, this is probably something that people get into and almost have to start from scratch. So I think it's absolutely brilliant. We'd love to see some more entries in it as well. It's great as it is, and thanks very much, Echelon, for putting this together. As we see Post coming up to the line, it's a 123.52. It's going to be just sneaking under to 124. Well done, absolutely fantastic. Well, that wraps it all up. We've had another fantastic set of races brought to you by Echelon Racing League, and we've been in New Mexico. We haven't really, but you'll know what I mean. Echelon Racing Promotions bringing you Tour of Gila, a time trial in New Mexico based on a real hill in New Mexico. We've been there and back over the mountain twice, and we've had some thrilling racing. Chapeau to the ladies once again for providing that epic duel between Dylan Baker and Kate Ouellette. The men, some fantastic times achieved as we just wait for the final result to be populated in the hand cycling. Phenomenal times. The men's A's with that sub 38 winning time, and don't forget that Jackie Goodby in the women's race was at 140. That was it, phenomenal. And so as I say, it has been some cracking racing. There we are, Christian Post now up on the board, 1:23:52, the official time, and we salute you all. This has been absolutely great, as I keep saying. Don't forget, here's your diary. As I said, this is professional races, so that's 22nd of January, Tulsa next time. So we're not 24 hours from Tulsa, we're probably 20 days from Tulsa. Gene Pitney could just come out and change the words. I'm not sure if Gene Pitney's actually still alive, but 20 days from Tulsa. It's going to be the reworking of the Gene Pitney 24 hours from Tulsa. It's Tulsa Tough, so I think the word tough suggests we might be getting a little bit of climbing in that one. Go away and check it out. It's all on the Echelon website, and you can check out what we've got coming up. Don't forget though, the community racing will be on the 15th, a week earlier. I'll be here for that. I don't do the professional races. I'm not sure who does, but I'm sure it's somebody closer to home who knows the riders better than I do. Tour of the Gila. Oh, what a fantastic little advertising board. That's the real event. You can actually, as I said, it is a real race. So there we are. Silver City, New Mexico on April the 27th. COVID permitting, I assume. 22nd. Well, look out for that, Tour of the Gila. Yes, I think Eurosport need to cover that. Maybe ZMS can do it, and Damon and I can go out there and commentate on it or something. That would be nice, wouldn't it, Damon? We've had the pleasure of your company this afternoon. You've been a fantastic audience, I'm sure, patiently putting up with whatever I'm telling you, correctly or incorrectly at any given moment. Fantastic pictures from Damon, and we've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you have too. We'll see you next time, 15th of January, for the Echelon Racing League. And if you're out and about on Wednesday, I've got one of my West London races, 16 kilometres, fast, furious and fun, on RGT, and it will be streamed by ZMS again. So thanks, Damon, and I'll be commentating again if you haven't had enough already. So looking at that, there's some other things coming up. 31 day Everesting challenge, 31st of January, if you haven't already started, because we're on to the 2nd of January now, of course. Community series dates in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. As I say, 15th we'll be back, Tulsa Tough, and well, we look forward to that, don't we? See you soon, and remember, it's ZMS on RGT. Bye.